If you run a home care agency and you are thinking about hiring a virtual assistant, there is one mistake I see agency owners make over and over that costs them months of frustration. They hire a generalist VA instead of a home care specialist. Here is why that distinction matters more than anything else when you are choosing a VA for your agency. I'm Jeff, CRO and co-founder of ClearDesk. I have seen this play out hundreds of times. An agency owner hires a VA. The VA is capable and willing, and it still doesn't work. Not because the VA is bad at their job, because the job requires things the VA was never trained for. So let me walk you through exactly what makes home care different, what goes wrong when the wrong VA is placed, and what to look for so you don't end up starting over 3 months from now. Let's start with what actually makes home care uniquely complex for VA placement, because most agency owners don't fully articulate this until after something has gone wrong. The first thing is electronic visit verification, EVV. This is a federal compliance requirement under the 21st Century Cures Act for all Medicaid-funded home care visits. Every visit has to be electronically verified, caregiver clock in, clock out, location, duration. A generalist VA will not know what EVV is. They will not know how to monitor it in your scheduling system, and they will not know how to identify a discrepancy before it becomes a billing problem. The second thing is HIPAA compliance. Every client your agency serves has protected health information, care plans, diagnoses, insurance records, family contact details. Every person who touches that information, including your VA, is subject to HIPAA requirements. A generalist VA does not come with that training. They are a compliance risk the moment they access a client record, not because they intend any harm, but because they simply do not know the rules. The third thing is scheduling urgency. Home care scheduling is not calendar management. It is crisis response. When a caregiver calls out at 6 a.m. for a shift that starts at 8 a.m. with a client who lives alone, that situation needs to be resolved in minutes, not hours. A VA who has managed executive calendars and inbox triage does not have the instinct for this. The urgency is different. The stakes are different. The process for resolving it is specific to home care, and it needs to be understood before the first call out happens, not learned during it. The fourth thing is software complexity. AxisCare, WellSky, and HHAeXchange are specialized platforms built specifically for home care operations. They are not intuitive for someone who has never used them. The navigation is specific, the workflows are layered, and the compliance functions, EVV monitoring, authorization tracking, billing integration, require training to use correctly. A VA who needs to learn the platform from scratch while simultaneously learning your agency's processes, your caregiver roster, and your client base will cost you weeks of productivity before they contribute anything meaningful. Now, let me walk you through what actually happens when a generalist VA is placed in a home care role, because these are not hypothetical scenarios. I have seen all of them. The first failure scenario is the EVV gap. A generalist VA does not know to monitor EVV data consistently. Caregivers with incomplete clock-in records accumulate over days, then weeks. The VA is not flagging them because they do not know what to look for or why it matters. The agency discovers the problem during a billing audit and has to manually reconcile months of records. That reconciliation takes dozens of hours. The billing impact is real, and the whole thing was preventable if someone trained in EVV had been monitoring the data from day one. The second failure scenario is the call out that lands back on the owner. A caregiver calls out at 6 a.m. The generalist VA takes the message and forwards it to the owner because they do not know the coverage process. They do not know the system. They do not know the caregiver availability list. They do not know how to broadcast an open shift. The owner is now handling the call out themselves, despite having a VA on staff. The whole reason they hired a VA was to get this off their plate. Instead, they are managing the call out and managing the VA at the same time. That is worse than not having the VA. The third failure scenario is the software learning curve that never ends. A generalist VA spends the first 4 to 6 weeks trying to learn AxisCare or WellSky while the owner is still running most of the scheduling themselves. So what does a home care specialist VA actually look like? The first thing is home care software training before day one. A ClearDesk scheduling VA placed with a home care agency is trained in AxisCare or WellSky before their first shift. They know the platform before they ever log into your system. They can navigate it, they understand the scheduling workflows, and they can handle EVV monitoring from the start. There is no learning curve on the software because the learning happened during vetting, not during your onboarding. The second thing is HIPAA compliance training built into the process. Every ClearDesk VA placed in a home care or healthcare adjacent role goes through HIPAA training as part of vetting. The third thing is home care scheduling experience and instinct. Understanding the urgency of call-out coverage, the process for filling a gap under time pressure, and the compliance requirements that run through every scheduling decision. And the fourth thing is a vetting process that actually reflects the specialization. Less than 0.5% of ClearDesk applicants get placed. That number means nothing unless the vetting is screening for the right things. And for home care placements, the right things are software proficiency, HIPAA knowledge, EVV understanding, scheduling experience in a care setting, and the temperament to handle urgent situations calmly and independently. That is what the process is built to find. Before you evaluate any VA company for home care placement, including ClearDesk, here is a checklist of questions to see if the company is equipped for home care. Do they specifically name home care as a vertical they serve with dedicated training and placement support? Do their VAs know AxisCare, WellSky, or HHAeXchange before placement? Do they have HIPAA compliance training built into their vetting process as a requirement, not an option? Can they provide references from home care agency owners specifically, not just general business clients? And do they understand EVV requirements and train their VAs to monitor and manage EVV data correctly? If the answer to any of those questions is no or vague, you are looking at a generalist operation. At ClearDesk, every VA we place with a home care agency is trained in your software, HIPAA compliant, and vetted through a process that accepts less than 0.5% of applicants. If you want to see what a specialist placement looks like for your agency and how it compares to what you have tried before, book a call with our team at the link in the description. Thanks for watching.